Hey everyone, let's go through an exercise together. So for this, you're going to need to download this example repo, which I'll have a link to sorry, in the description. And then that's all. There's no npm install. You just need to have Node installed on your computer, which as a JavaScript engineer, I assume you do. So let's start off. Wait, I have to make this float on top. Okay, so our goal is to create a function that reads a file and then gives us the first line from that file. So what do I mean? Well, here's our example file. Our goal is to make a function that returns this. It returns this is the first line of text. Okay? So how can we do that? Well, Node has a method on fs called fs.readFile. And this takes three things. It takes the file path, which in this case is text.txt. It takes the encoding, which I believe is UTF-8. Then takes a callback. Okay, so that's a function we just defined. And this callback expects error and data. Okay, so let's put a console log here. Console log, this is data. Put the data in there. And I'm going to open up a terminal in VS Code. You can do this just on a separate window. It's a little bit easier for me to have it here in VS Code. And we're going to run node example.callbacks.js. Look what happens. We get, from this little function, we get, let me actually remove that. That makes it a little harder to tell what's happening. From this little function, we get all the information on text.txt. Okay? But we want to make a function that only returns the first line. So let's make a function. Function pluck first line from file. Okay? In this function, we're going to need to read the file. But once we have that data, we're going to need to do something different. Okay? Because we just want the first line. So what we can do is to do that, we can say data.split at, I believe it's \n, maybe what's /n. So split takes a string and it splits it into a bunch of different pieces on a certain separator. In this case, we're doing the new line. So if this is what our text looks like, it'll split this whole string into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arrays. So now we have an array of 5 arrays, but we only want the first one. So we're going to do square bracket 0 to get the first line of text. Okay? Pause the video, rewatch this if you want to go through so far. We're just setting up the basic thing. Okay. Now that we have this, pluck first line from file. When we invoke it, we're going to give it a file path. So we don't want pluck first line from file to have a file path hard coded into it. We want the user of pluck first line from file to give it the file path. So maybe for today it's text.txt, but say I want to do the same thing for a different file path. That should be dynamic. So we're going to say file path, and instead of having a hard coded string, we're going to have a parameter so that I can give it an argument. Okay. Now this looks good, but here's my question. If I run this code, will I get the first line from text.txt? I want you to really decide, will I see in the terminal the first line from text.txt? Decide, will I? Yes or no? Make a prediction and prepare to be surprised or validated, right? If you're wrong, be surprised and think, what do I have to learn? If you're right, think yes. Okay? So let's do it. Node example.callbacks.js. Wait. There we go. Sorry, I hadn't saved it. It does not print anything. Why? Because look, in pluck first line from file, we get the data and we split it, but we're not doing anything with it. So what do we have to do with this? Well, because this is asynchronous, we can't just return it. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to add a callback. And we'll say callback, and we'll invoke it with the data. So what does that mean? How do we console log the data? Well, we're going to provide as an argument to pluck first line from file a function that will expect data. Then we're going to console log data. Okay? Now, let's watch this. Now we have the first line of text. Okay? Whenever we're dealing with asynchronous functions, there's two sides of it. There's the function itself, and there's the invocation of the function. The function itself is here. This is the actual function. What does it do? It does an asynchronous operation, and once that asynchronous operation has the data, it invokes the callback. Okay? Now, on our invocation of the function, we actually provide a callback, and then it'll take the data and it'll do stuff with the data. Okay? This should be pretty clear to you on callbacks. I don't have time to, if none of this is familiar with you, there's other videos you can watch, but we got to keep moving to get to the big part here, which is promises. How do we turn this into promises? Well, I want you to take 10 minutes, set a 10-minute timer, and try and turn this code into promise code. Google whatever you want, try and turn it into promise code, and then we'll do it all together. Okay, take 10 minutes and then watch the next video. All right.